Hello, this is Jed Brewer with Below the Line Club and Study Groups. It's really nice to have you on the call this hopefully lovely summer day where you're at in the country. I'm up in the Pacific Northwest, and we're in probably 60-degree weather up here, so it's probably much cooler than where you're at. But I always enjoy August. It's one of my favorite months of the year. Today we're going to be talking about lube procurement and logistics strategies. Kind of twofold as we think about ourselves as lubricant marketers. One is, how do we get the right product into our warehouse at the right time to be able to serve our customers, particularly now in this period of allocation where it's really hard to get product and supply shortages. So we have a hottest on the call. Dan Jones and Jeremy Davis are two of the co-owners of hottest, and a study group member firm, Dion & Sons, out of Southern California. Scott Angleton, who's the director of operations, is going to be showing how Dion & Sons is using the product the hottest uses to really better control their logistics costs by optimizing inventory and SKU formats, getting the right products in the right time, particularly in communicating with manufacturers and suppliers in this period of allocation. So I think that'll be really nice. And then after that, we're going to have Pavan Maheshwari of Fleet Panda be talking about dispatch. And Pavan's going to share a little bit how petroleum marketers around the country are achieving order-to-cash automation. We'll also provide a sneak peek into the modern dispatch platform and discuss the opportunity to design the perfect dispatch system for lubricants. And Pavan, I hear that word, perfect dispatch system. You got my attention there. So look forward to hearing a little bit about that. But we'll start first with hottest as they talk a little bit on the warehousing side and how to better control your logistics costs. So with that introduction in mind, Dan, take it away, please. And also
Great.
For the audience, just briefly, I want to say, we want this to be as educational as possible. So if you have any questions, you're on mute, but please type them into the GoToWebinar dialog box. I will be able to see those questions and I can relay them to our presenters at the appropriate time. So again, we want to make sure we can do as best as we can to get your questions answered here. And if we can on the webinar, I know our presenters are very happy to follow up with you afterwards. And we'll also make these slide decks available to you afterwards as well. So Dan Jones, the hottest, take it away.
Thank you very much, Jed. I really appreciate the intro, and just a little bit of background. I'm going to spend about 5 minutes on slides, and then the rest of the 20 minutes we'll have will be Scott Angleton from Dion actually showing you our software and the value it brings. So you only have to listen to me for just a minute, but I want to just make sure you knew who we were. Our name's a little strange, so I wanted to even explain that. We're in the San Francisco Bay Area. Many of you we actually know. We have been in business for over 6 years, and one of our clients, among a great list of clients, is Shell Lubricants. And so if you're one of the independent distributors across North America that distribute Shell Lubricants, we are very familiar with you, and you're very familiar with us because we share data, and you'll learn a little bit more about that. But that's kind of who we are. And we're more than a software company. We also do consulting. But what we're going to talk about today is in the middle of that circle. Some of our awesome clients are around the edges there, and you can see Dion and Shell and Verizon Media and whatnot. The software that we sell in the middle, we're going to talk about the one on the right side of that middle circle, Sell Through Analytics. Shell purchased this from us 3 years ago. Dion & Sons has purchased the distributor version. All of Shell's distributors actually have access to it. But to get the full functionality as a distributor, there's a cost of about one full-time equivalent employee per year, and that's what Dion is paying so that they can have the additional functionality that you'll see later today. But our overall objective with Shell has been to help them lower their working capital, help them improve incentives with their distributors, help strengthen the relationship between the manufacturer and the distributor by sharing data and having us kind of as a middle person on that. Dion and Sons actually are the ones that introduced us to Jed and the study groups and all that. So we're anxious to let Scott talk. This is just a little bit about what you're going to see today. We have a concept of converting your data, the distributor, and the manufacturer's data putting it into one place, normalizing it, and allowing the distributors and the manufacturers to be able to win better in the marketplace. And the specific advantages that you get from this software are being able, on the top left, being able to see across all your products across the entire network. Over on the top right, we generate very specific actions, business that solve business opportunities. Bottom left that you'll see from us is we're really not technical guys, we're not IT guys, we are business process people. And when you work with the hottest, you get a business mindset and knowledge of your industry. And then finally, the implementation of the software is very simple because you're not loading software anywhere. We're built on top of Amazon Web Services, and it's all just through a link that you'll see Scott do today. Scott's going to show you his live production system. But we believe that we deliver value to Dion and Shell and other lubricant distributors by providing capabilities. And the capabilities on the bottom, I'm not going to read through them. This is what you're going to see Scott demo a few of these. And if you're interested, we could show you more at another time. And then finally, when you buy our software, you're really not buying it, you're renting it and using it through the internet. We have unlimited user access, so Shell and Dion can add as many users as they want. The data that we're doing with Dion is multiple times a day. We get their data. We've connected our systems to theirs, and we get their data every hour, every day. And there really are no other fees than just the one that you pay that, like I said, is about the price of one of your full-time equivalents. And we believe it's very secure and have proven that through all of our certifications. So that's a little introduction on who we are. Jed, now's the right time to switch it over to Scott. And for the remainder of the time, which I think we have 20 minutes, Scott's going to actually show you our tool that we call Sell-Through Analytics with live Dion data. We'll turn it over to Scott.
Great. Good morning,
Thank
everyone.
you, Dan. Yeah, Scott, take it away.
Just want to make sure everybody's seeing my screen. We're looking good?
Yeah.
Yep, I see it,
Looks
Scott.
good.
Okay. So what I want to start off is there's a few different kind of modules within here. And I'm just going to go through the ones kind of high level that we're using and how they've helped us, right? For us specifically, we have multiple data sources. So we have kind of an ERP for Dion and also Sawyer and a couple of other companies, and you'd literally have to log into each of those databases to get the data where here getting compiled as one quick view. So quick overview, as Dan was stating, we can see the updates that happen on the hour. We also have monthly and weekly updates that happen. So if any of those fail, anything goes wrong, that kind of turns red, so we can see if we're looking at actual current data. I can tell you we haven't had a failure in quite some time, so we're looking good here. So I'll give you an example of this. So if we're looking at velocity and weeks of inventory, what I'm looking at is across all of our facilities at the same time. I can see the item number, the description, unit of measure. I'm seeing how many of those units in gallons we have on hand. If it was in 24 quart cases, it would be in those units, 24 quart cases. How many gallons we have committed on orders already coming directly from our ERP systems. You'll see items that we're transferring. So if you see a negative, we're a hub and spoke model here. So anything that's being transferred, you'll always see a negative on Long Beach. The positive would reflect in the receiving location. Scheduled units, those are units that are coming in that we've ordered from, any manufacturer, Shell, whoever it may be. We can see those that are on order. And this gives us, obviously, when you take away the committed to the warehouse units, this gives us available units. And this here tells us how many of those we sell out of this specific warehouse per week. So for this one example is we sell 12,000 gallons out of Long Beach, but total company wide, we're selling 18,174. So if I wanted to just say, grab one SKU, and I want to look at this across all our facilities. I want to see the inventory. I want to see what they have on hand. Now I'm looking just at that one specific SKU. and I can see again their sales velocity at each of the facilities. And what we try to aim for at our outlying facilities is for them to have 2 weeks of inventory. So this is what they sell in 1 week. So their inventory would roughly be about 2 times what we're seeing here, right? And this gives an indication for our ordering as well when we're doing purchasing on how much we need to order to keep everybody supplied. So at a glance, we can see everybody's weekly sales on an individual item, and then we can see if they're over or understocked, right? So right now, I can see at some of the locations, obviously due to their committed, they're understocked. So it'll suggest that they order more of this in another module. These ones here, they're fairly close to the 2 week. But again, it'll probably suggest that they order a little bit more to get up to their supply. Now let's see. So I'm checking things off as I'm going through my list here. So what this portion has done for us, along with kind of the transfers, everything else, what this allows us to do is keep our carrying costs at all of our outlying facilities much lower. You can see now that the weeks of inventory are fairly in line with what we've asked them to do. When we first got this tool, a lot of it was tribal knowledge based, right? I've always had 10 of those over in the corner, 10 drums of that. They sell 5 of them. I need to order 5 more. Well, no, those sat there for 1.5 years before you sold them. So they were using kind of the facilities using their own tribal knowledge on what to restock. So when we got this tool, we were actually surprised that they had some items were 1 year to 2 years worth of inventory on smaller items. The facilities have then now balanced that out and returned a lot of stuff, so we're not carrying way too much inventory. Sorry about that. Phone is ringing on me. So that's kind of a quick glance. Oh, I'll get one other thing. Because we know the velocity at each of our facilities on an individual product. Let's see if I can go back to that original. When we were put on allocation, which I'm sure a couple of you have had to deal with, we were able to apply that across our facilities. So, and I'll just use some nice round numbers. If we were going through this 18,000 per week, if we were doing 80,000, that they put us on allocation for 50%, right? We then applied that to all of our facilities. So if we could only get 40,000, we then cut their supply to these numbers here. Instead of 2 weeks of inventory where we get, or they would still do the 2 weeks of inventory, but for what they could get for the month was cut in half. So their actual 2 week inventory was their full month supply. This allowed us to keep all of our facilities wet with every single product. And we did that same kind of allocation across to all of our customers. So if they were purchasing normally 200 a month, we cut them to 1. And this, again, we didn't run a single customer out. We kept everybody wet. We were able to balance it really well using this data. Without this data, we kind of would have been in a big mess. So that would be your velocity weeks of inventory. The next portion that we use on a regular basis, again, works for us for hub and spoke model, is as we receive items, we buy in bulk, we repack them all at this facility and then ship them to our other facilities. So I can see now the person that does the repack, he's setting this up right now. So first he kind of goes in, we're looking at, we look at what's arriving tomorrow. So he's just starting this. We look at what's arriving tomorrow. This shows us what it is, and then it makes suggestions based on your sales velocity of what you should have on hand, right? So it's saying, hey, repack this 12 totes of this product or 10 drums. And again, these aren't hard numbers. You can follow based on what your inventory is, based on the velocities. you can use a little bit of your judgment to fill in these numbers, right? So you're going to look at the proposed, validate whether or not it makes sense, and you'll fill these in here. And after he does this, just for what's arriving tomorrow, so that eliminates the double handling, right? We're packing it instead of pumping it into a tank, then back out of a tank into drums, totes, pails. We're doing it as we receive it. So then we go through and then we look at here, which is repacking off of what we have in inventory. So as we start looking at it, we may look and go, well, this is only a couple of days out. I'm not going to suggest a repack on this, but these items here, maybe I want to repack, right? So it's making a suggestion here, a couple of totes. He's opting for one. And so they'll fill this in based on, and they'll go through each unit of measure, get a complete repack sheet. And again, I think he's working in it now, so I don't want to really disturb what he's doing. And then we come to the repack warehouse, and this would be the marching orders, right? So you can export this to Excel, and this would be the marching orders. What he does is takes this sheet, sorry, this is the warehouse manager I'm speaking of. He takes the sheet and he actually divides it up amongst the receiving team and then the people that work in the tank areas, the tank farms. So he'll split that out and give each portion to those teams, and then they'll fill in what they actually repacked. Again, they'll look at the suggestions, but if they're on a roll, they may pack a little bit more. They may have run out of some pails, so they may pack a little less. They'll refill that in and ship it back to us. It goes straight to purchasing, and we update our software with all the inventories of what we have now. So that's it. And all of these, I'm going to jump back here, your velocities here, this we've given visibility to all of our customer service reps, our sales reps, the GMs of all the facilities. Everybody can go in and look at this, right? So if we're having an issue getting some supply, they can kind of glance and see if somebody's a little overstocked that could potentially help them out. Okay. So now we'll jump here. This is the transfer section. So for this, what the facilities individual facilities would do is kind of, oops, sorry, wrong one. They will type in their facility that they're building their transfer for. And this one, again, is making the proposal on what you should order. And again, it's based on how many you have available, your sales velocity, right? Your committed units, so you can see we're actually in the negative, right? And the sales velocity on this is really low for this facility. So if you see the suggestion is basically tell them just order enough to fulfill your availables, right? Because you've got so many committed over what you have. So it's just basically telling you to just restock. Ordinarily, if you'll see it a little bit higher, it'll make a suggestion over what you're negative to build your inventory. So you can see it's telling you order 27, where it's, hey, you're negative 25, but you go through about one per week. You want to get to 2 weeks, it's telling you order 27. So they'll fill this in, again, using a little bit of their knowledge, but it makes it simpler for anybody new coming in to then fill this data in to build the transfer that they need at their facility. They do the exact same thing we did kind of with the repack. They go over here, nothing's been filled in, so you won't see it, but this would be the extract that they hand back to our purchasing team so we can build the transfer. So they send that over to us and we transfer it out to them based on their needs. The final portion after they do that, if we're doing this on a regular, is the backhaul. So the same facility, after they've built their transfer, they'll come in here and it makes suggestions on items that maybe you should transfer back, right? And you guys know there's a wide variety of reasons. We may have ordered a large order of quantity of something because a customer specifically requested it. We transfer it over to that facility, then the customer cancels. There can also be a change to SKUs or usage. So customers may be using one 520. A lot of them that we have may switch over and go to a synthetic 520 now. So now we're overstocked on, say, 520. So it's going to make the suggestion, hey, you're not using this, your velocity is going down. Go ahead and transfer that back to Long Beach, because we can see, as an example, and I'm just picking this one out, it's a little off because this is where we store our race gas. But it's showing that, hey, you're not really selling it out of that facility, right? But overall, Long Beach is selling, 94 per week. So it's a little off, again, because we store race fuel at this facility. So it's kind of trying to transfer it out of there. All right. And they can do that for each of the facilities. So as long as they're doing that, it helps keep their inventory levels in check. A lot of our facilities are very tight. We don't have a lot of storage. So this allowed one of our facilities, I know, in the first few weeks when we started implementing this, they got rid of, I believe, 3 truckloads of stuff that we were able to send back to our Long Beach facility and not have to reorder. We were able to put it right back out into the field and sell it off instead of it stagnating at one of our facilities. Oops.
You still there, Scott?
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to click on something that wasn't clicking for me. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. So we have a very similar model for purchasing. Again, it's looking at our purchase history, our velocities, our sales history to make recommendations on what to purchase. And the setup for these items is by distributor. So it's also building in the lead time when it's making the calculations on what it's suggesting to order. It knows that, hey, if we're ordering it from, say, Houston, it may take 2 weeks before we even get it. So it's looking at those numbers before it makes that suggestion. You're going to have to order it now, even though it doesn't look like it, because there's a 2-week lead time to get to that. So we have all of those built in. So our purchasing department does the exact same thing, is he'll fill in the recommended purchase. He'll kind of fill it in based on a truck number because he's doing it out of, say, all the same facility, LALP or Houston. So he'll try and build a truck to fulfill that. And when he's populating that, sorry, I'm going to use a little bit of, as he's populating these, sorry.
Hey, Scott, just a probably a 5-minute warning. Jed would probably appreciate that.
No problem. And I'll be through this in a couple of seconds. So as he's building this order here, it's giving him the weight. So he's actually building to the weight that he knows is allowable. All right. And same thing, the extract right to the purchasing. And then these are the order constraints. Again, that's the data that's built into the background. So our final one that I'm going to kind of go over real quick is repositioning. This is something you probably run once every 6 months to a year, depending. And again, this is when you're stuck with, hey, a customer started purchasing a different product, you overordered, and I can tell you one of our facilities here, or 2 of our facilities that they're managed by the same person. She's gone through this very recently, and as you can see, there's like 1 item now. There were absolutely nothing as of 2 days ago. So this might have been something that came in, they made a delivery on it, it's a full tote, we probably delivered 130 gallons, and we still have that 200 sitting at that facility. So it's now recommending, hey, send this from Van Nuys to Santa Paula because they'll go through it. And again, if they're managing the backhauls on a regular basis, this will be a small number of changes. And then you have the extract as well, as once you build it. So that's all I had. If anybody has any questions, I tried to keep it within our time limit, so I felt I got a little fast on some of these things. But if any has any questions or anything they want
Scott,
to
you,
ask.
you touched on several things. One, like one of the benefits was decreasing your weeks of inventory once you started using the system. You talked about the repack tool, how you transfer between facilities, and even how you make more intelligent purchases from your suppliers. I know Shell's one of your suppliers, but you're like most lubricant marketers and have multiple suppliers. So trying to get the right SKUs. What would you say has been the biggest bang for your buck? Like, what tool in here for you has been your biggest bang for your buck, and why?
I would say basically when we're looking at the overall, when it's the inventory and transfers kind of in conjunction, really lowering our carrying costs, right? So across our facilities, we had an ungodly amount of inventory that we were carrying at facilities, and a lot of it at the individual facilities was dead stock. So we were able to really move that back to where it was being utilized and selling it. The other was the repack portion. A lot of the times they were repacking based on orders as they came in, rather than building up a little bit of supply, right? Based on purchase history, building up a supply of repack items. So we're just pulling from the shelf, not packing as we go. So that kind of dropped the labor cost down. So we're like, hey, here's what you need to do to keep us up to our weeks of inventory that we need. And those are their marching orders, rather than on a daily basis, we had 4 or 5 people out there repacking just to fulfill orders off of our stock. And then the reposition, that was another one where we work. This works for us, hub and spoke, but this would also work without a hub and spoke on the reposition. Because if you're looking at that, if you have multiple facilities, even if they're ordering for themselves, right? When you get stuck in tight inventory situations, you can look at this reposition and throw in your facilities and see who's got the stock that could help you out, right? With the Shell items, sometimes we're able to get them a little quicker, a little slower on certain items, but you can see who might have that inventory to share with you. So overall,
One
it was
question that came in from
lower carry cost of inventory.
a member of the audience is they just were asking, what ERP system are you guys on? Because they're curious as to the benefit of using this tool, HOTUS, over, say, the ERP system for some of this information.
Well, our ERP system is really antiquated. It's called D2K. I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with it, but the best I could explain it is, if you know what DOS is, it's a DOS-based system. Looks very much like that. It's old commands, no pretty user interface. It's very antiquated. So this helps immensely against the ERP.
Mm-hmm. And Dan, I'm curious if you had any just real quick closing comments of anything that came to mind as Scott was presenting.
Only that we appreciate everybody's time, and hopefully it's way better listening to someone using the tool and getting value in their business than listening to us. Jeremy, I don't know if you have a thought or two, but we're down to just 1 minute.
Yeah, the only thought on the ERP question is the way we architected and designed the solution is ERPs will take you so far, where our premise is we've got the ability to really sit on top of any ERP and then integrate back and forth with it. Because sometimes when it comes to transfers, repositioning, repack, you become constrained by your ERP. So just know that we built this in a way that we're agnostic of the ERP, because we really sit on top of it and have the ability to do integration of data in both directions with your ERP.
Jed, thank you very much for this, and Scott especially, thank you for spending the time with us.
Thank you, Scott.
One last little thing I'll give everybody is, if anybody has any additional questions, they come up later, you think about it later. If you want to reach out directly, I will gladly walk anybody through anything else additional they want to see separately off this. So
yeah, that's actually a great point.
Out.
That's actually a great point for us to wrap with. That if you want to know more, reach out. That's so great. Directly to Scott. You can reach out to me, and we can schedule more time. And Scott will be with us, and we can go even deeper with you, because this was definitely a quick cursory view. So thank you very much.
I appreciate you guys. We're going to turn over now to Pavan at Fleet Panda, and Pavan's going to be talking more about on the dispatch side and how petroleum marketers are using that order to cash automation. And as I mentioned in the teaser at the beginning, discuss the opportunity to design a dispatch system for lubricants. And I see that word perfect. And so I'm really eager to hear about this, Pavan. So thanks for taking the time to step us through.
Thank you, Jed. Just want to confirm you can hear me and see my screen.
Yeah, everything looks good.
Okay, awesome. So thank you for having me participate in this webinar, and fantastic presentation by the Hatties and Scott from Dion. What I'm going to talk today, so there's two parts. One, I'm going to just talk about a mental model around what order to cash automation is and what why petroleum marketers across the country are sort of thinking in this way for their logistics or like service or dispatch system. And then second, I'm going to show the demo of the system, a real quick sneak peek, and then also an interesting kind of, this is a perfect kind of segue into what was presented before, which was a wonderful system to manage your inventory with the lubes, really get the inventory right, really get the demand prediction and things like that correct. We basically take it further from that part of the operation, which is how do you manage this when your lubes and packages and products go on a truck and gets delivered. So it's a perfect segue on how these two systems can fit in. So without further ado, I'll just get started. So sort of this mental model that I spoke about, which is think about sort of your business or your core workflow as an order pipeline, right? And sort of when I say order pipeline, it's a simple concept. You have sort of your orders come in, and if you kind of do a good job in delivering it on time and as per what customer asks, then you get paid and cash comes out. So pretty straightforward model. And then kind of think about what are the different parts of this order pipeline, right? And for most of the businesses we work with our customers, it's going to look something like this. Your order is created. You enhance that order with maybe ship to information, product information, SKU, and so on, which supplier to pull it from, which lubricant, and how to kind of blend those packages and things like that. And then you schedule that order. You have some form of shift planning going on, where you're kind of planning your shift and figuring out which package goes on which truck, who drives it, and things like that. Then the order gets sent to the driver, right? The driver receives them. For some of you guys, it's just pen and papers. For some of you guys, maybe you're WhatsApping them, texting them, or you have some kind of system in place. And then hopefully the driver reviews the order, makes sure he has everything to go and deliver it. The driver fulfills the order on the field, collects a lot of paperwork, and a lot of things have happened in the field at this point. Like maybe the gate was closed, or maybe like he didn't have enough inventory on his truck and he figured he couldn't deliver it, and so on. So there's a lot of kind of real-time information that is happening, which you don't find out until the driver comes back, right? And you collect the paperwork. So then you spend a bunch of time reconciling everything, figuring out what exactly happened, what did the customer order, what did we deliver, what are the changes, does everything look right? And you're going to push that into your back office system. And then if everything's good, you send out invoices and you get paid. So this is basically your order pipeline, give or take, sort of, that's how roughly the industry operates. And then the key concept I want to drive home today is that, for all these kind of different statuses or different workflows, if you have pen, paper, spreadsheet, human passing data around, you have spreadsheets being passed, there's a person who is trying to, tell the other person on the phone what to do, or, pass the information, then basically what we call is like you have leak in your pipeline, right? Basically, you have an opportunity to slow down the system. You have opportunity to make mistakes. Maybe your dispatchers and drivers are fighting the same fires over and over again. Maybe everyone's overwhelmed and burnt out. And that's really because, you have sort of these leaks where, these different workflows are not integrated end-to-end by software, right? And, because this is your order pipeline, this leak is really your leaking cash, right? Because remember, the order goes in and cash comes out. Now the cash is leaking because you're making mistakes, and your customers are unhappy because they're not getting the right order. So they are not getting notifications on delays, or you're sending out invoices that are incorrect, right? And then they have to review your invoices, and they find out mistakes, so that loses trust in your overall operation. So now your invoices are taking more time to get approved. So your payables, your receivables are lacking, and so on. So, and there's a lot of efficiency and labor hours being spent on figuring this out. So there's a lot of cash you're losing through this. And what Fleet Panda, what we've really designed is this end-to-end field service software that gives you order to cash automation. That's kind of the main North Star we look at. And I'm going to do a quick sneak peek into the software, how that looks like. But I won't cover the entire sort of demo because it takes around an hour to really understand different pieces. But I want to give a quick sneak peek on how that looks like. So what you're looking at right now is what we call the control room, where you're seeing all your shifts. You're also seeing a map where you can see all your deliveries for the day, your drivers, where they are on the field. You're also seeing orders that are coming in, and maybe the orders are coming in through an integration with a system like Ahati's, or it's coming in through on-call order and so on, right? So, and all this, you have it at your fingertip, and it's very easy to use, and it's built in a way, I think someone mentioned just on the previous discussion, user experience, right? And better look and feel compared to a DOS system. So we're just sort of taking it to the next level and figuring out sort of, okay, how do we make it so easy to understand and use that it's, even your new employees can start using it. And then here you have sort of different visibility rules. You're able to see where these orders are, who is the driver who's assigned to it. These drivers are grouped by a particular business line. So maybe all your truck and trailer are grouped together. Maybe all your lubes are grouped together. Maybe your AM, PM drivers are grouped together, and so on. And then we also have a very interesting piece of technology where we're giving you real-time information on what's on the truck. So when I'm hovering on this truck in real time, I'm able to see that this truck has B5 clear, 2,000 gallons, and it's on compartment 3 and compartment 2 is empty. So being able to have this visibility at the truck level and at the compartment level is super powerful, because then you're able to quickly change up load and balance the load on drivers, and then also do good inventory management and so forth, right? And then one more sort of quick, and then there's a few other sort of, this what I'm showing you right now is fully driven, it's a dispatch side of view where it's on a web browser. You just log into your browser and use it. So same as the previous system, it's built on Amazon Web Services. You don't need to buy hardware. You don't need to buy servers. You just log in like your Netflix account and just start accessing your operations. And then the driver side is completely driven by a smartphone, similar to a Uber driver. So we have location-based workflows. You're able to see the locations in real time. Think about sort of how Yellow Cab used to operate versus Uber, right? And then you can click on sort of any of these drivers, see where they are, see these guys are at a terminal trying to load their trucks. So you have sort of real-time visibility into what's going on into your operation. There's a lot of routing as well that we provide. And then I'm going to quickly switch gears and talk about shifts and reconciliation. So this is a view where you can see your shifts, and shifts are really moving from active to completed to kind of ready to be synced with the back office. And if I open up, let's say, one of the shift here, let's try this one. It's giving you a full picture of what happened with the shift. The start, who was driving it, the entire paper trail of what's going on in a shift on the left. And on the right, it's kind of giving you comments where your drivers, dispatcher are adding comments. So check out this comment where it says something is wrong with meter calibration. So going to test on 87 delivery. This kind of information is getting lost on WhatsApp messages and text messages, creating chaos in your dispatch. We're kind of bringing it all together so that all these kind of context is right on the shift. And then you can further drill down and see, okay, what's going on in a particular order, who delivered it, how much was ordered, how much was delivered, what kind of fees are applied, and we send out branded delivery tickets on your behalf. So that's kind of a quick, just a sneak peek into the system. We have lots of features and functionality for building a modern dispatch system, especially for petroleum industry, right? So now I'll get into sort of just a little reverse, but I'll talk about Fleet Panda now just for half a minute. So we are a Silicon Valley based company, and we started sort of our journey as being fuel marketer ourselves in Silicon Valley. We've raised venture capital at this point. We scaled sort of the fleet fueling and wet hosing business. And then we wrote a lot of software to actually scale that. And then we sold the trucking side of the business and got 100% into the software side of it, just because we realized that what we built is pretty amazing. And we saw a big opportunity to go all in on the software. So that's kind of how Fleet Panda was born. And that's why you see a lot of functionality that is 100% petroleum oriented, but with a very modern Amazon and Uber-like system that gives you real-time information on what's going on your trucks. So having said that, I'm going to quickly switch gears again and talk about sort of lubes and how sort of fuel distribution, or whether it's wet hosing, truck and trailer, whatever business model, how is that a little bit different than lubricant operations? On a high level, you're still kind of loading a product on a truck and delivering it. So 70-80% of the workflow is still same, but then lubes tend to be different in few ways. So I want to quickly talk about that. So if you see, there's like 4 or 5 different areas where we think sort of lubes is different than fuel. One is sort of on the order creation side of things. On fuel, you get a will call order, or maybe you're monitoring a tank, and you have keep fill orders, and you just immediately create an order. In lubes, you basically, when you get an order, there's a lot of process you have to run to make sure that inventory is correct. You do an inventory check. Sometimes you're mixing and pre-packaging and picking and packaging things to create that particular order. So that is a different piece on the lube sides. Then products, fuel tends to be mostly all bulk fuels, versus lubes is going to be bulk as well as packaged, right? And then loading, you're often sort of loading fuel at terminals and bulk plants. But in case of lubes, as we saw, you're really picking it up at your own warehouse most of the times. And there's some pre-processing happening where you're picking up the right kind of product. On the delivery side, when you go to fuel, you scan whatever asset or tank or equipment you have to deliver it, and just deliver. On the lube side, you're not, sometimes if it's a bulk delivery, you're scanning the asset, but often you're scanning the package and then delivering it. And often, and we'll touch upon like some of the complexities we see because of these things. We see some complexities on the lube side, right? So we'll touch upon that in the next slide. And then the last, on the fuel, often whatever product is left, you keep it retained on your truck. Sometimes you're probably pulling it back into your bulk tank, but most of the times you're just retaining it on the truck. Versus on the lube side, you're often running different workflow to transfer it back to the warehouse. So there are sort of some nuances when lubes come in on the dispatch side and on the operation side of things. And sort of the key complexities, as we discuss with our customers, we're seeing over and over on the lubes is, one, you're often ending up delivering the wrong SKU because these packages look really like each other. If you don't have a good scanning system and good kind of mapping system in place, then you end up delivering the wrong product. The inventory tracking is pretty hard, right? So not only in your warehouse, but on the truck, there's a lot of stuff moving in and out in real time. And you want to have really good hold of what the inventory is. Then there's sort of real-time tracking, as I said, on the field, whatever is happening in the field. We've heard like literally sometimes, 2 drivers from the same vendor ends up at a customer, not even knowing that, okay, both of them are delivering from the same company. So sometimes you get so disconnected because in real time, there's a lot of last minute decisions that get made. Then there's the training of drivers on the SKUs, which is again hard because a lot of these packages look the same, they're complex. If you don't have a software system in place, then you're spending a lot of time training and retraining drivers. And it becomes pretty hard to then, add to your workforce because there's only few drivers who really understand how to do this operation. But then as you add new folks, they're making mistakes and you're really not able to scale. And then the last but not the least is really the delivery report, how you generate the report, what kind of things you put on a fuel delivery is very different than a lubes delivery. So with that said, really the core part of like the way we are designing it is sort of the ERP or the back office, in this case, even could be HAT, is really where order could get created, lubes and mixing is happening. And then everything flows on the driver app, like the Uber driver or your petroleum driver, it's the same thing. But then drivers selecting the truck, they are going for a delivery, they're scanning and delivering it. And then sort of delivery receipts are sent out. And then anything that is not delivered, is going back as retained, either to be transferred to another truck or a warehouse. So that's kind of the core part of the architecture that we are moving into. And that kind of, and then I'll touch upon one more sort of slide before I kind of go into the opportunity to discuss, to create the perfect Lube dispatch system that Jed's so excited about. So on this one, it's extremely powerful for you to use, to have sort of a system that is unified. So unified petroleum dispatch software, right? When I used to work at Amazon, we found amazing leverage because we had this single system that ran the entire, right from warehouse to the dispatch, the entire software platform was all connected, and that gave you a lot of leverage. And in this industry, basically, there's different business lines. Lubes is of course one, but some of you are also running transport, truck and trailer, wet hosing. You have common carriers as another business model, and it's a mix of these. And what Fleet Panda is creating is this unified dispatch system where you have one app for your drivers, a single app, so that they're not playing with 20 different apps and getting retrained and trying to understand those. You have a single portal for your dispatchers, so your dispatchers are working just in one single place. You're training your employees once and then done, right? So it's already hard to train drivers on an app. If you have 10 of those, then basically you have 10 problems, right? So you're kind of training them all at once and then they're done. Any kind of data changes that are happening, adding a new SKU, adding a new driver, adding a new truck, adding a new ship to, it's all happening once and not in 10 different systems. And then you get a unified view of entire operation, the way I showed you on the control room. You really get a bird's eye view of what's going on in your operation. You can run business analytics, you can make some data-driven decisions. And last but not the least, there's a single source of truth for your logistics, right? So, often sort of, we all have sort of an ERP system for your finance and accounting side of things. But at the heart of it, when petroleum distributors and marketers, we're really at the heart of it, we are a big logistic company, right? And then we need an ERP or an ERP system for your logistics. And that's what Fleet Panda is, which is your single source of truth. It tells you exactly what's happening in your operation, what order is getting delivered, at what time, who is delivering it, what is delayed, and then it's kind of bringing that entire customer experience into the product. So having said that, I want to touch upon this interesting opportunity. So Fleet Panda, over last few years, we've scaled and deployed different sizes of customer across the country. And now sort of this quarter, we are getting into our Lubes development. We're extending our platform for Lubes. It's not fully built yet, but we have all the specs ready. Our product managers have kind of specced out most of the product, as I showed you some of that before. And we're kind of inviting some of you guys to participate in designing these products. So we already have a few of our customers who have signed up for this customer advisory board. And these are design partners. We did the same with Fuel, where we come to your location, we do ride-alongs, we do whiteboarding, we kind of really customize and try to make it perfect for you. And we're planning to limit this to just 5 prospective customers, because more than that, it becomes huge amount of challenge for the product team to make decisions on what to build first. So we have some of our existing customers already participating. I would love to invite any of you guys, if you're interested, to really extend the platform that you saw and get it customized for your operation. Just email me at pawan@fleetpanda.com. And what you really get out of that is you first of all participate in the product creation that is being shaped. So while sort of the product is being shaped, you get to give feedback and get it right. You get to build some custom features that will matter to your business, not the general industry. So every business is still very different. Maybe you acquired 3 companies, maybe you've been running operations for hundreds of years. You need some custom processes that you could then shape during this time. It's almost like having your own engineering team for 1/10 of the cost, because we are kind of picking up most of the slack, and there's multiple partners participating in that. And then you get to lock in discounted pricing post-launch, and just like a lot less dollars spent in customizing software, because you're sort of participating right at the beginning of the birth of this software. So this is a pretty amazing opportunity. If you're excited about building the perfect Lube product in this industry, I'd love to chat with you. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Yeah, Pawan, I'm curious, you touched on a number of different things for lubricant marketers to consider through here. in your experience working with your customers, what's kind of the biggest bang for the buck? Similar question I asked to Scott that he was getting out of the hottest system. What do you see the biggest opportunity is, that the lowest hanging fruit for lubricant marketers?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, the biggest kind of opportunity on a system like Fleet Panda is really to get real-time pulse on what's happening in your operation, right? So on inventory side, the way the artist system lets you almost, I think, every few hours or so, but it lets you know what your inventory is and what the demand is and get you to adjust. Here sort of you get to do the same, but in the field when the driver is delivering. So it reduces overall sort of business decision making. It simplifies that and reduces a lot of human errors that come in by having this end-to-end system in place.
Yeah, thank you. And one question that came in, it says, can you program driver, truck, and customer capabilities in your system? Example being drivers that have a TWIC card. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but a customer must have a small truck to enter a facility, et cetera.
Okay, so I'm going to make some assumptions on a little bit what the question is, but it feels like the question is like at the customer, if there is a truck that you're delivering into like an asset or equipment or a tank, can you program that so that you're delivering to different kinds of equipment? And the answer to that is yes. So we have sort of most of your workflow that could be programmed so that when the driver goes to a location, he uses his smartphone to just scan a QR code on the asset that your customer has and just fill it, or they scan a QR code on the package, or for in Lube's case, and just deliver it. I hope that answers the
I was
question.
the one that typed that question up. Basically, what I was asking is at the facility level, if they require, say, a security clearance for that driver to come in, which would be TWIC here at the harbors.
Oh, I see.
If the customer requires that they have that security clearance, can that be programmed in? So when you're adding a driver to that route, it'll look and see if he has that security clearance before he's routed there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so your TWIC cards and other kind of documents could be easily programmed to the driver's app, and then they can just show it there. So also like the way sort of nowadays you can show your e-logs, right, for hours of service to if your driver gets pulled, they can just show it, and that would be accepted. Similarly, your TWIC cards and so on could be added to your driver's app.
All right, well, terrific. Well, Pavan, thank you so much. Dan and Jeremy, I'm just curious on your end, if any closing comments that you had that you wanted to make sure the audience heard.
Jed, I think I'm good. Jeremy?
No, just more than anything, if you feel like there's business improvements that can be made with inventory, purchasing, transfers, definitely feel free to give us a call. We'd love to come visit you, sit down in your boardroom, and just kind of talk one-on-one with what the challenges you have and how our software could help solve them. But thank you guys for your time today.
Yeah, thank you guys. And Pavan, any closing comments on your end from Fleet Panda?
Yeah, I would say, I've just always been a big fan of study group in the entire community here. Like big thing we are doing here is kind of saying that, hey, we want to improve and we want to learn new things, and we're coming here to explore like what else is possible. So always a big fan of just that community, and I hope we can keep doing more of these.
Well, thank you all and everybody for your time today. We will send out the recording of this here in the coming hours or tomorrow, as well as the contact information for the presenters, as well as the slide decks should you want to reference them in the future. Again, enjoy your summer, enjoy August, this beautiful month, especially in the Pacific Northwest. Come up and visit me sometime. Take care. Bye.